And purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Srila Prabhupada.
Translation. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the signs of God, is already situated in transcendence. Translation with repetition. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant
A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant,
nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant,
nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant,
who is self-intelligent,
who is self-intelligent,
who is unbewildered,
who is unbewildered,
and who knows the signs of God,
and who knows the signs of God,
is already situated in transcendence.
is already situated in transcendence.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The symptoms of the self-realized person are given herein. The first symptom is that he is not illusioned by the false identification of the body with his true self. He knows perfectly well that he is not this body, but is the fragmental portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is therefore not joyful in achieving something, nor does he lament in losing anything which is related to his body. The steadiness of mind is called sthira buddhi, or self-intelligence. He is therefore never bewildered by mistaking the gross body for the soul, nor does he accept the body as permanent and disregard the existence of the soul. This knowledge elevates him to the station of knowing the complete science of the absolute truth, namely Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. He thus knows his constitutional position perfectly well, without falsely trying to become one with the Supreme in all respects. This is called Brahman realization or self-realization. Such steady consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. Thus ends the wonderful Transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. Pamajnanatimirandhasya jnananjanashalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. It's a very beautiful verse that we are seeing, and this is in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which we have been seeing now for past few days. What I want to do is, there is a lot of things to cover in this, but there is a merit in seeing this verse and the next verse together. So if you join now, or if you have not paid attention, and if you want to implement something which we discussed in the morning about attentive hearing, hear this verse one more time, and then we will see the next verse as well, because that is related to this. So this verse says, Na praharshet priyam prapya, no dvijet prapya cha priyam, sthira buddhir asammudho brahmavid brahmani sthita. Translation is, a person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant, who is self-intelligent, who is unbewildered, and who knows the signs of God, is already situated in transcendence. I'll take the next verse just for building some case. Of course, the next verse can again be discussed as a separate class. It's a very important verse, but I just want to build something from these two verses. Bahya sparseshu asaktatma vindati atmani yat sukham sa brahma yoga yuktatma sukham akshayam asnute. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. It's a very beautiful thing. So I'll just read the purport also again. It's a small purport. Prabhupada says that Sri Yamunacharya, a great devotee in Krishna consciousness, said, Yadavadhi mama cheta Krishna padara vinde nava nava rasa dhamani udyatam rantumasit tadavadhi vatanari sangame smarya mane bhavati mukha vikara sustu nisthivanam cha. Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in him, whenever I think of sex pleasure, I spit at the thought, and my lips curl with distaste. A person in Brahma Yoga or Krishna consciousness is so absorbed in the loving service of the Lord that he loses his taste for material sense pleasure altogether. The highest pleasure in terms of matter is sex pleasure. Those who are not on mute, please go on mute. I don't know who's that. Thank you. A person in Brahma Yoga or Krishna consciousness is so absorbed in the loving service of the Lord that he loses his taste for material sense pleasure altogether. The highest pleasure in terms of matter is sex pleasure. The whole world is moving under its spell, and a materialist cannot work at all without this motivation. But a person engaged in Krishna consciousness can work with greater vigor without sex pleasure, which he avoids. That is the test in spiritual realization. Spiritual realization and sex pleasure go ill together. A Krishna conscious person is not attracted to any kind of sense pleasure due to his being a liberated soul. The sense, the wonderful Transcendental Bhaktivedanta purport. The reason I took this verse together, because the first verse says about a person who has got certain characteristics, and this verse says his symptoms, what he does. So they are related, can be seen together. Of course, as I said, we still can have a discussion on this verse next class. I'm just trying to build what we can see together in this short time. You see the translation of the second verse, it says, such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. The last time I had taken one verse, and that verse was Tad buddhayas tad atmanas tad nishthas tad parayanaha gachanti apunarabritim jnana nirdhurta kalmasha. There was one word which I had asked you to pay attention. Anybody remembers which word is that? Just raise your hand. You don't need to shout. Who knows the word? Panduranga has raised. Okay. Some might be thinking, bro, you must be joking. Today morning, what you discussed about? Now you're asking 3 weeks back, 2 weeks back. Hey, last week only I spoke. Was it last week or last week? I don't know. So hands not raised, can it be accepted that you don't remember?
Or we don't know how to raise hand.
Okay, what is it, bro? You want to go for it?
Don't 100% remember, but you had stressed a lot on refuge. Tat parayanaha, complete refuge was something that you had stressed. But I'm not sure if that is what you're looking for.
No, parayanaha was there. Of course, those 4 things. Krishna says that buddhayas tad atmanas tad nishthas tad parayana. But I had spoken about another word. Okay, let me ask Panduranga. He has raised hand lawfully, legally. Yes.
Prabhu, Badrinath Prabhu will answer. Yes.
Kalmashaha, misgiving.
Huh?
Kalmashaha, misgiving.
Yes, yes. So I had stressed on the word kalmashaha. which is translated by Prabhupada, probably the only place where you will find misgivings. So this is what happens when we, why I stress that word so much, because if we miss giving the four things to Krishna, we miss the whole point. And those are the kalmashas. You miss giving it to Krishna, you give it to Maya. Tad buddhayas tad atmanas tad nishtas tad parayana gachanti apunarabritim jnana nirdhuta kalmasha. When one's intelligence, mind, faith, and refuse are all fixed in the Supreme, then one becomes fully cleansed of misgivings through complete knowledge and thus proceeds straight on the path of liberation. That was the title, Straight on the Path of Liberation. If you want to really take something from these two verses, because sometimes, we don't make it as an official thing to just come and attend. Don't make it as a formality. See if you can take something from this. And I don't know if anybody else in the world will say like this, but I keep telling, at least something should go. If you just want to remember one word from these verses, these two verses together, I'll quickly skip on that and come to this. The word which Krishna uses here in this verse is called sthira buddhi. 5.20, if you see the word, na praharshet priyam prapya, no dvijit prapya chat priyam, sthira buddhir asamuro brahmavid brahmani sthita. And in the word-to-word meanings, in the synonyms, Prabhupada writes sthira buddhi as self-intelligent. The word sthira, wherever it is used, or sthana, it says it is fixed. We have towards the end of second chapter, Arjuna asking this question, sthita pragya. Sthita is steady, pragya is intelligence. Sthita pragyasya ka bhasa samadhistasya keshava sthita dhir kim prabhaseta kim asita brajeta kim. The whole section is about a person whose intelligence is steady. Here this is used as sthira buddhi. So a person is considered to be self-intelligent, but I want also to point out that in the purport, Prabhupada writes sthira buddhi as the steadiness of mind. They're not the same, mind you. A person who has got intelligent, which is fixed, sthira, or self-intelligent, and Prabhupada writes in the purport sthira buddhi as steadiness of mind. Now, I've been hearing some classes, I think Balaram Prabhu has been repeatedly telling that the fifth chapter, the acronym for it is STEP, and the E stands for equal vision. Right, so what is that equal vision? And this section is all about equal vision, and we've been seeing in the previous verses, the last two verses, Brahmani Adhaino, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne, Brahmani Gavihastini, Sunichena Sopakecha, Pandita Samadarshi. And the last verse that we had taken, Yeheva Tair Jita Sargo, Yesham Samye Stitam Manaha, Nirdosam Hi Samah Brahma, Tasmad Brahmani Te Stita. So this is all about a person who has got transcendental knowledge. And when somebody has got a transcendental knowledge, he develops an equal vision. Equal vision, from the purports of these verses that we are seeing together, can be characterized by the symptoms of a man who acknowledges the presence of the Lord in all living entities. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmani Gavihastini Sunichena Sopakecha Pandita Samadarshina. So that equal vision, equality in vision is coming because he's able to perceive the presence of super soul in every living entity. One. And the second thing is he's seeing everything, behind everything there is Krishna's hand. There is Krishna's hand behind everything. This is a very important thing. That is what is the equal vision is all about. Okay, I just misplaced that verse, but you see, everybody in this material world sees the world with the vision that he has developed. If the vision that we have developed, it's based on the mind that we have. If somebody is a perfectionist, he looks the world to be perfection. Anywhere he finds imperfection, he gets agitated. Somebody whose mind is full of compassion. He looks the world with the vision of compassion. Somebody whose mind is filled with critical mindset. He cannot see anything peaceful. He cannot see anything nice. Everywhere he'll see with critical vision. The vision is because we are living in this material world, and it is contaminated by this material knowledge, material perception, material gunas. So the way we look at things are different. Same world can be perceived by someone as very nice, whereas somebody else can see that as very critical. There is nothing good about it. That is based on our own mind, not based on anything else. Because the mind is so conditioned to think, to perceive, to feel, to see. So it sees in that way. So if that is the case, bhakti, when somebody is taking to this process of devotion, and when he has reached the pinnacle, the summit, when he has become advanced, when he is properly situated, what is the symptom? The symptom is his vision, his behavior. How does he behave? What is the behavior of that man? And these verses are very nicely telling how this man behaves. How does this man talk? How does this man, what are his symptoms? So the verse that we are taking today, it is telling, Na praharshet priyam prapya, no dvijet prapya cha priyam. Tira buddhi rasamuro brahmavid brahmani sthita. Very, very beautiful verse. Two things which are mentioned in this verse. A person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments upon something unpleasant. So if somebody does this, can one of you remind me of time when it becomes 8:20? You have to tell me somehow, whoever it is. Who wants to take this responsibility?
I will, Prabhu.
Okay, 8:20, you have to give me some signal. You have to shout.
Okay, Prabhu.
So basically, this verse is telling no praharshet priyam prapya, no dvijet prapya cha priyam. So a person who neither rejoices upon achieving something pleasant, nor laments upon obtaining something unpleasant. And that person is called self-intelligence, sthira buddhi. And in the purport, brilliant purport actually, very small purport, but they are so loaded and so nicely Prabhupada is explaining. How does one achieve the state of sthira buddhi? Is it some kind of, okay, I'll not feel happy. Really, there is some object of happiness which is there in front of me. And I can, if I get that object, I'll be happy. But I'll say, no, I'm a Krishna conscious person. I will not be happy. Or is it maybe, somebody who sees, like, if we are doing like that, they will say, what kind of people you are. You're not even, enjoying, or things that is available to you to feel happy about, you're not even feeling happy about it. But can we stop ourselves from not lamenting in a situation when we are put into which we don't like, which is not to of our liking, which is unpleasant, which is unpalatable? Can we stop feeling miserable? Maybe not. It's also difficult. Then how does a man who has got sthira buddhi, steady intelligence, steady mind, is able to do this? Is neither rejoicing when something favorable is happening, something pleasant is happening, nor his lamenting. Prabhupada says this is only possible, only and only possible if a person is self-realized. You see the first line of the purport, Prabhupada writes, the symptoms of the self-realized person are given here. As long as we are identifying ourselves with the body, very difficult to, keep ourselves separated from the happiness obtained from this body, or the distress or misery arising out of this body. Very difficult because we are not identified. Please go on mute. Hare Krishna. I don't know if you are hearing or I'm.
We are also hearing.
Who's that?
Ankit's only too.
Ankit, can you please go on mute? I think you have muted yourself. So basically, if a person is identifying himself with the body, it is very difficult to disassociate from the pleasure and the happiness and the, what is the other word which is used? Rejoicing or the lamentation, which is arising from it. That is why the purport, Prabhupada begins the sentence. The symptom of the self-realized person are given herein. And the first thing that he's saying, the first symptom is that he is not illusioned by the false identification of the body with his true self. He is not illusioned by the false identification of the self as the body. Right? So this is so important. We have been seeing this in throughout the pages of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita, second chapter itself, Krishna spends so much of time, so many verses is talking about the difference between knowing, the difference between spirit and matter, the difference between soul and body. Even when we are hearing the verses of the conversation between Narad Muni and Vedavyas, there is at the beginning, Narad Muni, when he begins to speak, he first criticizes Vedavyas. Are you happy by identifying yourself with body and mind? What kind of this thing you have done? You have identified yourself with body and mind and you have written all this literature. Are you satisfied by doing that? It is a sarcastic statement. That means you should not have done that. What is the problem? What is the problem of identifying ourselves with the body? The problem is very nicely, again, in that same conversation that we are seeing in our morning Bhagavatam class, very beautiful verse. Actually, this verse, you should always remember, very nice verse. Just the verse is, Tasyeva heta prayateta kovido, labhyate yad brahmatam uparyada, talabhyate dukkhavad danyatah sukham, kalena sarvatra gabhira ramahas. These verses are so enlightening, actually. These verses, if you remember, we had a discussion a few days back, maybe a month or something. Tasyeva heta prayateta kovido, nalabhyate yad brahmatam uparyadaha, talabhyate dukkhavaddanyatah sukham kalena sarvatra gabhira ramhasa. There are people who are hankering for happiness in this material world. They're chasing after it, running behind it, putting all their money, time, efforts, intelligence. And they're trying. How can I get happiness? But when they're running, chasing after this happiness, there is somebody else who's chasing after them. And that is misery. You will not find a single person who will say, my goal of life is to become a miserable man. Enough, I have lived life comfortably. Enough, I have had a wonderful life. So far, so good. Let me chase miseries now and experience this. Nobody does that. But are they spared? Can they win the race? The chase of misery, can they win against it? Misery catches us. This verse, this specific verse of Bhagavatam spoken by Narad Muni gives us a clue. It's telling that like we are not endeavoring, like we are not working behind, or we are not chasing after miseries and miseries are coming, similarly the happiness that we are supposed to get in this material world, in this material body, in the present condition will come, don't worry. On its own accord, like miseries are coming, happiness also will come. Tasyeva heta prayateta kovido nalabhyate brahmatam uparyadaha talabhyate dukkhavaddanyatah sukham kalena sarvatra gabhira ramhasa. If you carefully see the words used in this verse, there are two words, gabhira and ramhasa. Kalena sarvatra gabhira ramhasa. That word gabhira is subtle. Word meaning is subtle. Ramhasa is progress. Even though I make so much of progress, I go to the heavenly planets, I go to the Patala Loka, I go to everywhere and try to acquire happiness. What this verse is telling, those who are intelligent, those who have got steady intelligence, whose intelligence is developed, they realize Kovidaha, Tasyeva heta prayateta Kovida. People who are actually intelligent and philosophically inclined should endeavor only for that purposeful end, which is not obtainable even by wandering from the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, down to the lowest planet. As far as happiness derived from sense enjoyment is concerned, it can be obtained automatically in course of time. Just as in course of time we obtain miseries even though we do not desire them. We may elevate our position, we may degrade our position in search, in quest, in endeavor, in our chase to get happiness. But what he's saying is that even though we elevate ourselves to Brahmaloka or we degrade ourselves to Patala Loka, doesn't matter. We cannot achieve that purposeful end of coming out of the cycle of birth and death. This is not possible. That is why the conclusion or the instruction given in this philosophically inclined and intelligent person should endeavor only for that purposeful end. And this is not obtainable even wandering from the topmost planet to the lowest planet. Sense enjoyment is anyway available. Another problem with this rejoicing with the sense, with the pleasure that we get in material world. This is all from Prabhupada's teachings. If you see carefully the instructions in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says there are two problems with this happiness. Of course, this whole chapter is all about that. 22nd verse, another beautiful verse. Yehi sansparsaja bhoga, it will come. Beautiful explanation. These verses, these are all like ringing of the bells. These are some wake-up calls. We should understand what is our position, understand the instructions shared by Krishna, shared by the acharyas in Bhagavatam, and try to act upon it. The problem with the material happiness, as spoken by Prabhupada in the pages of Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, are two. One is, these are all temporary. These are all short-lived. No amount of material happiness is permanent. Assuming hypothetically you find something which is it's an unending source of material pleasure, and you have tapped yourself. There is a tap and you're taking that pleasure. The problem is our body itself is temporary. I cannot have that permanently. So the first problem with the material happiness is this is temporary. And the second thing which Prabhupada says is material world, since we are living in this material world, we are not free from duality. There is always duality. You may experience happiness, but the misery also comes. You may experience winter, but summer also comes. You may experience fame for some time, but in fame he also comes. You may experience praise by someone, but criticism also comes. This is the nature of material world. There is always duality, dvandva. Nobody is free from that. So the experience of happiness to be situated, to be fixed in that, you have to have some misery somewhere so that you can experience the happiness. That is why the sign of intelligence, sthira buddhi, is someone who's not rejoicing or who's not lamenting when something bad is happening. That is because he's accepting his situation as it is. Acceptance of the situation gives one the power to detach from happiness and misery. Unless one accepts one's position, knowing that I am actually, and that is possible, like Prabhupada is writing in the second line, if you see, he knows perfectly well that he is not this body, but the fragmental portion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Self-intelligence or sthira buddhi means to know who I am and to know exactly who I am not. So since he knows he's the fragmental portion of the Lord, he's not bewildered by this kind of temporary positions that he is put in. He is detached. He's detached from the identification of himself with the body and mind. That is why he doesn't experience happiness and pleasure. Lamentation. Now, very interestingly, I know we have this is such a powerful verse, these two verses that I'm taking, and there are so many important things from this. So Prabhupada is saying such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure or external objects, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. Actually, the more we hanker for pleasure outside, the more we think in this object, in that position, in this way, in that way, I will be happy, the more we will feel the void, the more we will feel the frustration. The real pleasure, the real absolute bliss lies in within. When we take up to this process of chanting, when we engage in the process of devotional service, we experience the real bliss. 2-3 examples from Bhagavatam. First example which comes to my mind, I've not got a picture, is the example of Pingala. Pingala in the Bhagavatam, in the pages of Bhagavatam, she's a society woman, and she was giving pleasure to other men. And she was doing that, and she was thinking in that life's greatest pleasure. And she was doing this every single day. One day, when she was waiting for someone to come, some person to come and give her company, nobody turned up. And she realizes actually that she has become old, and now she is no more attractive. Nobody wants to come to her. And suddenly, somewhere, she realizes a strong power within, that actually the Lord who's situated within, he is the real source of happiness. Instead of tapping to that source, I'm looking for happiness outside, and I'm always limited. I'm frustrated with that. And the moment she realizes that, and she turns inwards and looks how she can experience that pleasure, that bliss, she becomes blissful. Another classic example. This is one of the best examples of Bhagavatam. If you see, look at this picture. This picture is portraying two very contradictory personalities. One is a rishi, is a sannyasi, Durvasa Rishi, very exalted personality, and another is a grahastha, is a king in the worldly order, and he is Ambarish Maharaj. But look at the contrast in their position. Durvasa Muni was extremely joyful when the king welcomed him to his palace. But the same Durvasa Muni, when he got to know that Ambarish Maharaj has broken his fast without first offering something to him, he becomes agitated. He becomes angry. Same Durvasa Muni is happy by one behavior of Ambarish and becomes angry or agitated because of another behavior of Ambarish. But look at Ambarish Maharaj. You can see in this picture, actually, he creates this demon to attack Ambarish. Right? He creates this so that this demon can kill Ambarish Maharaj. But very beautifully, you look at the picture, how Ambarish Maharaj is standing with folded hands, and Bhagavatam tells something very interesting in the 9th canto. This verse 9.4.47. I don't want to read the verse, but if you see the translation, we have less time, but I want to see. I want to highlight this. Taking a trident in his hand and making the surface of the earth tremble with his footsteps, the blazing creature came before Maharaj Ambarish. What does that mean? This creature which is coming is not something which we see day-to-day life. Today I saw a snake, a small snake. I was scared. Imagine a big, huge, gigantic creature with trident in hand coming to attack you. Taking a trident in his hand, making the surface of the earth tremble with his footsteps. That blazing creature came before Maharaj Ambarish. But what was Ambarish's position? The king, upon seeing him, was not at all disturbed and did not move even slightly from his position. Na chala padan nripaha. Not even moved. Sthira buddhir. Actually, in the purport, if you see for this verse, Prabhupada says, he did not move from his position because he was fixed internally. His intelligence was fixed. He was steady. He was not at all disturbed. He didn't even move even slightly from his position. Very interestingly, if you see this in another incident in Bhagavatam again, Prahlad Maharaj, when he meets this Abadhut in the 7th canto, there is a mention. There is an Abadhut who Prahlad Maharaj came across. Abadhut was someone who's exactly exhibiting this similar symptoms, not becoming elated, not becoming lamented. How does he achieve this position? So this conversation which is happening is, this is something mentioned here. The Abadhut here, he's telling to Prahlad Maharaj that there is a word which he is using called Yadricha. Yadricha. This word is there in Bhagavad Gita also. Yadricha Chopapannam. So on its own accord, I do not endeavor to get anything, but I am satisfied with whatever is achieved in its own way. Another great symptom of a person who's self-realized, who is man of steady intelligence, who's man of steady mind, is his self-satisfied. He's satisfied with his situation, with his position. I do not endeavor to get anything, but I'm satisfied with whatever is achieved in its own way. If I do not get anything, there is a message. What is it? Yeah. Yadricha Lava Santosh. If I do not get anything, I'm patient and unagitated like a python and lie down in this way for many days. You see, two pillars of a man who is fixed in steady intelligence. Two pillars or two important characteristics of a man who has got steady mind: patient and unagitated. Patience is actually a sign of a man who's steady intelligence. It's a sign of having faith on Krishna's protection. Not that, we become idle. We can do our best. We can give our best. After that, whatever comes, let us accept it. Patience and unagitation. If I do not get anything, I'm patient and unagitated like a python. The example of python is given. Python, it waits for a long time for the prey to come. The moment it comes, it takes. But otherwise, it is quiet. It is, it knows that even if he's not getting anything, he'll not die. And he remains like that, lies down for many days. So these are two very important characteristics of a man who's achieved the stage of steady intelligence: being patient and being unagitated. Very often in our life, we get agitated because we lack patience. We don't have patience. It should happen, it should happen, it should happen. These are all the symptoms of a person who's completely in the mood of passion. I want. Something should move. And when it doesn't happen, one feels very agitated. Another roadway to achieve the status of steady intelligence or steady mind is given little later in this chapter, where this verse is beautiful verse. If you remember this, which is again spoken by the same Avadhut to Prahlad Maharaj in Bhagavatam, he says, Naham ninde nachastomi swabhava viswamam janam swabhava visamam janam etesam shreya asase uteikatmyam mahatmani. Naham ninde nachastomi. Actually, this is a clue. The translation of this verse is, different people are of different mentalities. Full stop. If we expect somebody else to behave like us, it is not going to happen. Different people are of different mentalities. Therefore, it is not my business either to praise them or to blaspheme them. It's not my business. I only desire welfare, hoping that they will agree to become one with the super soul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Actually, if one can cultivate this mindset, we become critical. We start finding faults. It is not that the fault is lying in that individual. It is the fault of our mind. The mind, which is trained only to see that, we're not able to cope up with that, and we feel agitated and disturbed within. So Avadhut's trade secret to become self-intelligent or to become steady intelligent is to know that everybody in this world is created differently. Different people are of different mentalities. Therefore, it is not my business either to praise them or to blaspheme them. I only desire their welfare. And what is the welfare that I can desire? Suppose somebody's nature is not good. And if he says something, I get disturbed. And that disturbance is affecting my devotion. What is the point? And if I wish him, okay, what we generally do, even if we are taking up with this process of devotion, if somebody is treating well to me, I am nice to him. Somebody says something little this thing, I'll show back. Of who I am, I can show my personality. And then I start revoking, I start taking something which is not pleasant. And Bhagavatam is telling, Avadhut is telling to Prahlad Maharaj, no, think of the welfare of that man. in terms of how he can be Krishna conscious. If my behavior is not helping him or her becoming Krishna conscious, let me not do that. Let me not think evil about him or her in my mind. It's a very important characteristics. The moment we are able to, and this is only possible, mind you, but this is only possible if we realize our position, we are Dasa, Dasa, Anudasa. If we don't realize we are Dasa, Dasa, Anudasa, there is no way we can achieve this kind of mentality. That because our false ego comes in the way. How can you do this to me? How can you talk to me like this? How can you share something which is unpleasant or something, whatever it is? This is a clue. I want to tell you another very interesting pastime. Very this time, but this is very, very crucial, very critical with respect to these two verses that we are taking. This is the example of Sudama and Krishna. All of us, we know this story, right? But the aspect that I want to share with you is Sudama, even though he was a poor Brahmana, didn't have anything, knew the supremacy of Krishna, and they were friends. They were in the same Gurukul. So he somehow, by persistence by his wife, thought, okay, let me go and meet Krishna. And when he goes to meet Krishna, he is wearing torn, tattered clothes, and he has gone there with some chipped rice which his wife could manage to get from somewhere. Goes and meets Krishna. Who's Krishna? Dwarikadhish, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the king of the city of Dwarka, full of opulence. But how did Krishna welcome Sudama? He ran from his throne. He ran and he embraced him. Whatever his clothes, he was feeling hesitant. He embraced him. He brought him. He is washing his feet, and that Charanamrit is sprinkling on him. And then he saw that Supreme Lord knows everything, right? He's the super soul. He knows what he has brought, and he took that chipped rice and he's eating that. But these parts are all fine. But interestingly, when Sudama returns to his own place, Krishna didn't give him anything. The real reason, one of the reasons why he was there, why he had gone to meet Krishna, was to ask for some help, some money, because his situation was not good. He could not ask. One thing is he could not ask, but Krishna being there in yes, Mataji. Okay, 8:20. Krishna,
Yes.
okay, Krishna being situated in the heart as Paramatma, knew the position of Sudama, why he is there. He didn't give anything. Imagine if you were in that position and you have gone to meet Krishna. I don't know about you, but if I would have been there in Sudama's position, I would have told, what is this, man? You are the Supreme Lord. You are my friend. We were together in school, college. Now I have come. My situation is bad. I'm going. You're not even asking what do I need. You know what I need. You give me that. Sudama didn't say anything. And very interestingly, Bhagavatam says Sudama was rejoicing after going back. It is not that he was lamenting, my God, itna dur aaya, wo bhi main chipped rice leke, wo bhi kha gaya Krishna, kuch nahi diya. Neither he asked me what is my need, and he told me go away. He was rejoicing. There is no reason for him to rejoice, but he was rejoicing, thinking that Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, knows very well what is my position. He knows, had I got opulence, had I got some wealth, probably I would have not been devotee. Can we think like that? He's happy. He's happy in that situation. The real happiness lies within. That is what it is telling. Such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure or external objects, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. He's happy. He met Krishna. He's happy, and he's seeing. Deliberately, the Lord is not giving me anything. Had he given me, I would have been in problem. I would have not been engaged in devotion. This is equanimity. This is the steadiness of mind. This is Sthira Buddhi. This is the steady of. This is the what is Prabhupada is saying is steadiness of mind. Very interestingly, what is the I know I have 10 minutes to go, but to conclude this whole thing, to put it in the perspective, I want all of you, if you really are serious and you want to become an expert in knowing, understanding what acts as a hindrance in achieving this state, it is our own mind. And in Bhagavatam, 5th canto, there is one chapter, 11th chapter, where Rahugana is speaking to Jadabharat. Jadabharat is speaking to Rahugana, and it is the smallest chapter in entire Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. It has got 17 verses, less than even 12th chapter and 15th chapter, which has got 20 verses. It is all about mind, all about mind. And there is a clue lies as to how one can control one's mind in that chapter. Very, very nice chapter. First thing I want to tell you is this verse, which is spoken by Jadabharat, and he's telling, this is a very beautiful verse in Bhagavatam 5.11.4. Yavan mano rajasa purushasya satvena va tamasa bhanuruddham chetobhir akutibhir atanoti nirankusham kushalam chetaram va. Chetaram va. So translation is, as long as the mind of the living entity is contaminated by the three moods of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, his mind is exactly like an independent, uncontrolled elephant. Mind you, independent, uncontrolled. Not there is no mohant to control. Independent, uncontrolled elephant. As long as it doesn't allow us. It doesn't allow us to become steady. It doesn't allow us to become obedient. There is rebel. There is restlessness. There is fickle. There is no steadiness. As long as the mind of the living entity is contaminated by the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, his mind is exactly like an independent, uncontrolled elephant. It simply expands its jurisdiction of pious and impious activities by using the senses. The result is that the living entity remains in the material world to enjoy and suffer pleasures and pains due to material activity. Mind expands its jurisdiction. Abhi itna ho raha hai. Whatever we get in life, we don't feel happy about it. Yes, it is good, but it could have been better. And in that endeavor of but it could have been better, I expand the jurisdiction of my activities. It expands the jurisdiction of pious and impious activities by using the senses. Unfortunately, our senses are not in control. And the mind is dictated by the senses, so it also follows. The result is that living entities remain in this material world to enjoy and suffer pleasures and pains due to material activity. Poor, pathetic situation of living entity. He remains in this material world to enjoy and suffer the pleasures and pains due to his material activity. What is the solution? Yeah, problem to bol diya. Solution kya hai? Solution batata hai hamara Jadabharat in this verse, the last verse. It is not 5.11.4, it is 5.11.17. भ्रातृव्यमेनं तददभ्रवीर्यम् उपेक्षयाधितम् अप्रमत्तः गुरोर्हरेः चरणोपासनासत्रो जहि बलिकं स्वयमात्ममोसम्. It's a very beautiful verse actually. What is this verse? What is the meaning of this verse? Uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy of the living entity. Mind you, there is nobody else in this world who's our enemy. Nobody else. I may say this person, that person, this situation, that situation, this one, that one. No. Uncontrolled mind is the greatest enemy of the living entity. If one neglects it or gives it a chance, it will grow more and more powerful and will become victorious. Although it is not factual, it is very strong. It covers the constitutional position of the soul. Now, hence, these are all the problem statements. If one neglects or gives it a chance, it will grow more and more powerful. Who can help a person who wants to become his own enemy? Who can help him? Can I help him? Can you help? Can anybody help? No. Because in his own mind, inside him, he has given so much of jurisdiction to his own mind. It is growing, it is growing, it is growing, and that person is thinking it is actually helping. That mind is, the uncontrolled mind is actually our worst enemy. It's the greatest enemy. And if one neglects or it just neglects or gives it a chance, it will grow more and more powerful and will become victorious. Although it is not factual, it is very strong. It covers the constitutional position of the soul. Now the solution is, oh king, please try to conquer this mind by the weapon of service to the lotus feet of the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We have to follow the instructions of our spiritual master. We have to be engaged in devotional service. There is no other way, no other way. more we listen to our own mind, the more we become, it expands its jurisdiction. The more the material activity increases, and the more we are prone to suffer or enjoy in this material world because of this material activity. The only way to control the uncontrolled mind is by following the instructions of the spiritual master and by engaging in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The last line of this translation, very importantly, Jada Bharat says, do this with great care. He repeats this, do this with great care. It is not some simple thing. Do this with great care. There are 2 minutes or 1 minute in my watch. If you really want to remember and you've not heard anything or you completely forget, this one example, just remember, and it will, the entire principle of these 2 verses are summarized in this one example. This example is Haridas Thakur. Namacharya Haridas Thakur, great example. It has to be, you have to really, understand and internalize this fasting. When Haridas Thakur, despite the fact that he was born in a Muslim family, and when the Ramchandra Khan became envious of him and sends this prostitute to defame him in the dead of the night with a lot of promising thing that I'll give you a lot of wealth, nothing to worry about. You go somehow or other, you deviate Haridas Thakur, embrace him, and that's all. You'll get money. Look at the position of the prostitute. Maya Devi personified herself, who goes to allure Haridas Thakur, nothing to lose, everything to gain. She's going to get money. She doesn't mind. Haridas Thakur was extremely beautiful, and she has gone there in the dead of the night with the promise of getting the wealth, and she goes and tries. Very important in this incident, which we can learn as sadhaka. What did Haridas Thakur say? Everybody knows what Haridas Thakur says? Haridas Thakur says, just wait. Let me finish my rounds. I will fulfill. She told, I have come here to have nice company with you. Please satisfy me. Haridas Thakur says, yes, I will do. Please wait. Please wait. Let me finish my rounds. There lies the trick actually. In our life also, Maya Devi comes in various ways. This call, this work, this thing, that thing. If we say at that point in time, just wait, let me finish my rounds. Let me finish. If we don't do that, impossible to finish our rounds. Come back and say that, okay, I'll be able to do this, after that, after this thing, after this. Time is gone, time is taken away, snatched away. Comes to a situation when some days maybe we are not able to even chant our rounds. Haridas Thakur never told how many rounds he is chanting. Just told, wait, I'll finish my rounds, then whatever is required I'll do. Went on chanting. So pure holy name chanting. And this lady, she hears first night, and when it became sunrise, he tells, okay, I'm sorry, I could not fulfill your desire. Please come tomorrow. Tomorrow night I will certainly do. She goes back and comes back again. Goes and tells to Ramchandra Khan, nothing to worry about. I could not do this, but tomorrow, this next day night, it's all going to be done. And she goes back. Again, she sits there. Actually, one mistake which this Maya Devi does, this prostitute, what she does, one mistake, one big mistake. Mistake was, first thing that she does is she pays obeisances to Tulsi Devi. And the second thing, she pays obeisances to Haridas Thakur. She doesn't know the power of this. The mistake is in a positive way. She pays obeisances because she was acting nice. She was acting as if she is a devotee. First night she hears Haridas Thakur chant. Second night she hears Haridas Thakur chant. Haridas Thakur says, yes, I have some rounds to finish. I have taken a vow. Let me finish this. After that, I'll be there. I'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. Chants. And such pure chanting induces this lady to start chanting. She starts chanting a little bit, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And then she comes the next day, and the similar thing happened. Now this time again she comes, and she already, after having heard 2 times Haridas Thakur chant all this, powerful, clean, pure holy names, it has already made a transformation in her heart. 3rd day, she fell down at Haridas Thakur's feet, saying that I had come with an evil intention. I had come to allure you. I had come for some other purpose. But by chanting, my heart has become transformed. It's the power of holy name, pure holy name when it is coming out. I have fully transformed. Please accept me as your disciple. Haridas Thakur says, I knew that, the intention of your coming here. I would have left this place, but I waited here so that I can make you a devotee. She becomes a devotee. You see, Haridas Thakur, neither rejoicing nor lamenting, perfectly fixed. This chanting of holy name, when we are doing this properly, we experience the bliss from within. And the next verse where Prabhupada is telling that such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure or external objects, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. And Prabhupada goes on to say the example of Yamunacharya, that verse. One of the biggest problems, this whole material world is running because there is attraction between opposite sex. Big yogis, tapasvis, they fall down from their grace. Vishwamitra Muni. Look at Haridas Thakur, experiencing the bliss within. Pure chanting could transform the heart of the lady, that lady to become a devotee. So these are some of the important points from this verse. Very, very nice verses. These verses have to be understood, have to be read. And as I said, if you don't remember anything else, remember the word Sthira Buddhi, and how Sthira Buddhi is so important to have in life, and how we can achieve that state of Sthira. I'll stop here. Already exceeded time. Any question anybody has? Anybody has? Okay, I see Anandji has joined. Who else joined now? Okay. Okay. Without further ado, I will not have question answer. You can think about it. These are all very, very powerful examples and verses. And how, the only conclusion that we can have is, let our mind not wander for that material happiness and work hard. Because anyway, that is going to come. Tasyeva heta praitetu kovido nalabhyate yat shmatam upariyata. Talabhyate dukkavad anyatra sukham kalena sarvatra gabhira ramhasa. Material happiness, material pleasures will come on its own account. We should only endeavor for that self-realization. We should experience that bliss from within by taking up to this pure chanting of the holy name of the Lord without offense, with attention, very, very properly, and without delaying it, not keeping it for some other time. First, japa. Otherwise, it's tough. Anyway, those of you who just joined us, we had Bhagavad Gita class, and let me pause the